Okay.
So here, Omar, we say here that which character trait not previously seen by the audience. Meaning to say, this is a behavior of a certain character that is not revealed in Act 1. So the answer here is Mrs. Frank. It's because Mrs. Frank from Act 1 is not always or is always showing uh, what's it called as respect. Okay? Always showing respect to each individual. So this behavior in letter A is very new. Why it's very new? Because in Act 2, she can no longer what? She can no longer hold her temper to Mr. Van Dan when Mr. Van Dan steals food. She reminded that everyone is already hungry. Now she said, Mr. Van Dan, if you feel that you are hungry, your son, Peter, your son, is also hungry. So and the rest is also hungry. So do not think only of yourself. Do not think only of your own selfishness. Think also of others who are also at the same time hungry. So if you are doing so, much better you have to leave this room. But previously, the previous mistakes of every member in the hiding place to Mrs. Frank, it's okay. So she did not what? She did not uh, show her outburst or her anger. That's why we choose your letter A because this is the first time that Mrs. Frank actually showed her anger, okay, to a certain member of the hiding families. Okay, Omar, you get the idea? Okay, Omar, can you hear me? Omar, where are you? Where are you, Omar?
Hello, teacher.
Yes, you're lost. So did you hear what I have said a while ago? I think
I
you
have
missed.
heard. I have heard half of it only.
Okay, so what I was saying is that uh, this is a fresh or a brand new behavior by Mrs. Frank because previously Mrs. Frank was very respectful to any member of the hiding families in the attic. But this time, she can no longer hold her temper to Mr. Frank, to Mr. Bandan, because she herself is hungry. And when Mr. Bandan said, I thought I'm hungry, it has what? Mrs. Frank can no longer hide her feeling at this very moment in time. Now, for letter B, Mr. Dussel carefully divides remaining potatoes into piles for each person. So, we have learned already that in the previous act or in Act 1, we learned that Mr. Dussel already shows how careful he is or how strict he is with his own items. So, this is already seen. Margot willingly lends Anne her high-heeled shoes for the evening. Okay, so here Margot, the sister of Anne, is already known to be what? To be understanding, to be what you call this, to be giving or open-handed to her sister from the very beginning of the selection. Now, Mr. Franco forced the others as the soldiers found violently in their door. So we have learned that this is Mr. Frank, who is the leader of the people in the hiding, has always been a supportive individual to all of them. So B, C, and D were are characters of these individuals that were already previously seen in the first act. Okay, clear, Omar? Omar, can you hear me? Omar? Omar, you seem to be lost again, Omar.
Yes, yes, teacher. No, no, no.
Okay. So number two, will you please read number two, Omar?
Okay,
Question number two.
the play's climax occurs when, um,
Read all the options.
okay, Mrs. Frank asks Mr. Van Dam to leave. B. And dies in construction camp. C. Map brings news of the Allied invasion at Normandy. D. The police arrive at the annex.
Okay, perfect. So the answer for this question, what is the climax? This is when the police arrive at the annex. Okay, so we learned in the act 2 that actually they were discovered by the police. It's because number one of their celebration in the Hanukkah, of course, they were laughing. They were shouting their voices. They showed what's called this happiness during the celebration of the Hanukkah. So most precisely, they were heard. And then after that celebration, we learned from the selection that a thief has gone to their hiding place. And then after the thief has gone to the hiding place, here comes the telephone that was always ringing. And then after that, the police has come. So the climax is that why we say that the climax is when the police has come, has arrived in the hiding place, because that is the time in which the characters of the selection will face their problem. Okay, what is the problem is that they are hiding because they are being persecuted. That's the problem of the selection. Now, the climax is when characters face their problem. So this is now the time that they are going to face the problem. This is also the time in which we will be able to know whether they are going to escape from the consequence of their hiding, or they will be punished. So that's why we call this portion of the selection as the climax, because we don't know yet whether they will be brought to the concentration camp in which they don't want to go there, or they will be set free by the police. We don't know yet until the moment when the police has arrived into the annex. Okay, so answer is letter D. Now, moving to number three, Omar, please read. Omar, question number three.
Yes, number three. How does the news of the Allied invasion change the mood of Mrs. Frank and Mr. Van Dam? A. Uh, it intensifies their fighting. B. It makes them feel relieved by ashamed to have quarreled.
Quarreled.
quarreled. B. It makes them. C. It makes them feel happy and carefree. D. It causes them to become closer friends.
Okay. So we are talking about here what is the effect of the invasion, because one day Mr. Frank, I mean Mr. Crawler, okay, Mr. Crawler came to
Yeah.
them, and even Meat came to them, who even what's it called this told them that the invasion has arrived. Now, what is the effect of this invasion to the families? Uh, are they fighting? Because we learned that the families in the hiding were also always fighting during the uh, actually during the scene 2. They were always fighting because they are actually what you call this not eating that much, okay, compared to in act 1. And it makes them feel relieved but ashamed to have quarreled. It makes them feel happy and carefree, or it makes them to become closer friends. Actually, the correct answer here is letter B. The news that the Americans has arrived in Normandy has given them actually relief. Now, with
Yes.
that, they are also ashamed to the fact that they had been fighting, or there were times in which these families are they are fighting for the food, fighting for the behavior of their family. So they remembered, okay, that those acts or those scenarios and their hiding are actually some sort of a shameful behavior if they're going to recall them. Okay, so the answer is letter B. So number 4, please read question number 4, Omar. Question number 4, Omar.
Yes, Anne is faced with an internal conflict in Act 2 between um, her love for Peter and her love for her mother. B. The reality around her and her belief in the goodness of people. C. Her childish side and her mothering side. D. Her religious beliefs and her beliefs about people.
So what do you think is the answer here for the internal conflict, Omar? We're talking about internal conflict here. So when we say internal conflict, this is the fight of a certain character within himself or himself. Okay, so the meaning to say this character is trying to struggle and solve the problem, okay, by himself because he or she is encountering this problem. And this problem is the cause of his or her struggle personally. He's not fighting
Yes,
against someone else. He's fighting or she's fighting about himself or herself. So what is this internal conflict in Act 2? Okay, so Anne is faced with an internal conflict in Act 2 between her love for Peter and her love for the mother. Okay, the reality around her and her belief in the goodness of people, her childish side and her maturing side, or her religious beliefs and her beliefs about people. So the correct answer here, actually her love for Peter and actually her love for the mother, because we learned from the selection that Anne started to feel in love with Peter. Along the way here, the mother is also what you call this, trying to caution Anne, okay, not caution Anne to be what, to be what you call this, to be respectful of herself, okay, to be dignified, I should say. So
the
in
answer
the,
is number A.
so the answer is letter A. Is because Anne is struggling how to become what you call this
Okay.
dignified. Actually, okay. So that's the what you call this. That's the conflict in that Anne has faced internally. So Anne is trying to think, who should she prioritize? Should she prioritize Peter or should she prioritize the mother? So that is what Anne is thinking all about during this time. Okay. So number 5, Omar, please read the question and then the options for number 5.
Okay, number 5. Why is Mrs. Frank so upset when Mr. Van Daan is caught stealing food in the annex? A. They previously believed it was rats eating the food. And B. The children continuing getting fatter and fatter. C. The black market dealer for Russian books was arrested. D. He was being selfish. Um, I think it's A.
They previously believed that it was rats eating the food. Okay. Say, yeah, the question is that why Mrs. Frank so upset to Mr. Van Dan? Of course, we learned here that Mr. Van Dan was caught by Mrs. Frank stealing the food, and but previously, actually, Mr. Van Dan has been doing this, but nobody is what is thinking that one of the members is actually doing the stealing of food until such time that Mr. Van Dan was caught. But along the way that Mr. Van Dan was not caught, all of them were actually what? Okay, were actually thinking that it was the rats that was the one that was the one stealing the food. But the question is that why was Mrs. Frank so upset to Mr. Frank? Why? It's because he was being selfish. Selfish in the fact that the selfishness of Mr. Frank actually has led him to what? Has led him to steal the food. If he is not selfish, then he could not be stealing food because he knows by himself that not only him is hungry, but the rest of the dwellers of the attic are also hungry, including his own son, Peter. So our answer for number 5 is he was being selfish is our answer for question number 5.
Teacher, can you please take a photo of the? I mean, show me the answers so I can take a photo.
So number 5 question, the answer is letter D, Omar.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to screenshot it also with letter D. Okay. By the way, we are recording this one.
Okay.
Okay. So number 6, but you have to also take down notes of the answers. Okay. So number 6 here. Will you please read number 6, Omar?
Okay. Who was jealous about how much time Anne and Peter are spending together in his room? Um,
Oh, Anne and Peter in Act 2, we learned that they are always talking to each other. Okay,
I think
inside Peter's room. Then who is jealous? Mrs. Frank, Mrs. Van Dan, okay, Margot, or Mr. Van Dan? Who is it jealous?
I think Mr. Frank.
Okay, so Mrs. Frank is always jealous during that time because she said that she's envious why Anne is always going to the room of Peter. Okay, she's mad at that when seeing that Anne is always in Peter's room. So the answer is B, Mrs. Van Dan. Okay, number 7. Omar, please read number 7 now. We are moving to number 7.
Okay. The answer is what again?
Answer for number 6 is letter B, Mrs. Van
Okay.
Dan.
Okay. Number 7. The theme of this play can be expressed as all of the following uh, statements except A. In spite of everything, I believe that people are really good at heart. B. People can show surprising courage in life-threatening situations. C. The world contains both good and evil children, both good and evil. Number D. Children suffer more than adults in time of war.
Okay, so what is the theme? So when we say theme here, we're talking about the central message of the play. So what is the central message of the play all about? Okay,
I don't
so this one, Omar, here are actually the central message of the what you call this of the play. People can show surprising courage in life-threatening situations. The world contains both good and evil. Children suffer more than the adults. Okay, so this is what these are all the theme, okay, or the central message, or if you're going to summarize actually the whole story, okay, a, B, C, and D will give you the whole picture of what is the selection all about. However, letter A, in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart, is not talking about the play itself, but this is a comment of Anne. Okay, this is Anne's comment when actually the police has arrived to catch all of them. Okay, so therefore, in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. It's not, a theme, okay, of the play. However, B, C, and D can be a theme that we can use for describing the whole selection. Okay, why we can say D? Children suffer more than adults in time of war. Of course, children suffer. Anne suffered. Peter suffered from the time that they arrived in the hiding. They were still fat, but to the uh, you know to the length of time, to the passing of time, we learn from the selection that Anne and Peter becomes very thin because they don't have food. Okay, and then we have here the world contains both good and evil. Of course, if you have to take a look on the selection, we have here good individuals. We have Mrs. Frank and Mr. Frank. They are good characters in the story, while we have here Mr. Van Dan and then Mr. Dussel can be considered as evil in the story. Now, people show surprising courage in life-threatening situations. Of course, the situation of the family are really life-threatening. They can be arrested at any moment in time, but they manage actually to hide, quietly and then peacefully in the building. It's because what? They are in the time in which their life is threatened. Okay? So that's why B, C, and D are themes, but letter A is not a theme of the selection. That's why we get the answer for number 7, letter C. Now,
Yes, the answer is what?
so the answer is letter A.
Okay.
Now, number 8.
What amazing news does the MIP bring to the annex? She told them that she found a new contact on the black market. B. MIP had the news that Mr. Carler was no longer sick. C. She informs them that the war was over. D. MIP told the uh, residents that the invasion D-Day had begun. Um, I think it might be C or D.
Okay, so what amazing news did MIP bring to the annex? So only one answer is correct here. MIP told residents that the did invasion did they had begun. So this is the very good news. Okay, that MIP has brought to the hiding families. Okay, so these are what you called as important questions, Omar, referring to the Anne Frank. Okay,
Okay.
so still we have question 17 here, which is also one important question here. 1 minute, Omar. Just 1 minute. Okay, here, Omar. Number 17. Omar, are you still there?
Yes, number
Okay,
17. What
read the
did
question.
Anne mean by I still believe in the spirit of everything? The people are really good at heart. Um,
Okay,
uh,
so
teacher,
yes, Omar.
I don't know number 17.
Now, here, Omar, let me share my thoughts to you for this answer. You can screenshot, okay, this one, Omar. So, for your reference also. Okay, so I
Okay,
will
one
put
second.
in, yes, Omar,
Yes, okay.
I will put in this way here. This statement actually, Anne is referring to Peter, okay? So,
Yes,
actually, you can screenshot that one, Omar.
yes, one
Finish.
second. One second. Um, okay, please wait. Okay, I took a screenshot. Hello, teacher.
Okay, Omar.
Number 18. What does Mr. Frank mean by for the past 2 years we have lived in fear? Now we can live uh in home.
Okay, so what do you mean by this? What does Mr. Frank mean by for these past 2 years we have lived in fear, now we can live in hope? Fear because what? You can screenshot it now, Omar.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, I screenshotted it.
Okay, fine.
Teacher, will there be any other questions not from these things, this sheet in the literature?
Okay. Um, so we'll take number 21 here, Omar, for the vocabulary of the Anne Frank. Okay. Take a look on number 21.
Okay. Um, Dussel's alarming news was met with a moment of appalled silence.
What do we mean by appalled? Okay, we have discussed it today. What is appalled? Displeased, lonely, horrified, or liveliness?
Um,
Appalled means what?
Liveliness.
A feeling of very what? Very
Um,
an unbelievable feeling that has something to do with letter C. Okay? So
Horrified, like
appalled is
scared.
horrified. Yes, very scared, surprisingly scared. Okay, that is how we understand the meaning of the
Shocked.
word appalled.
Yes.
Meaning to
Okay,
say,
teacher, can
this.
you please circle it and I screenshot it so I can revise it?
Okay, screenshot taken. Have you taken the screenshot, Omar?
Yes.
Okay, so we will move to number 23. Peter was so furious at Dussel that he
No, number
became
22.
okay. 22 is not part of our vocabulary.
Okay.
23
Peter
inarticulate.
was so Peter was so furious at Dussel that he became inarticulate. Inarticulate.
So what is
Um,
inarticulate? Meaning unable to speak. Okay, that is
okay.
how we understand the word inarticulate.
I screenshotted it.
So I'm going to erase it now, Omar, so we can move to the
Okay.
next one.
Yes.
Okay, so those are two samples of actually the vocabulary that will be part of the test. Okay, inshallah. Now I will be giving you another revision, Omar. Okay, I will be giving you another revision referring to, okay, referring to the, uh, wait, okay. So if you notice here also, Omar, for the revision sheet here in literature, you find here that there are answers, okay, to the questions that I have included for you, Omar.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So there are actually answers for each question here. So before
Okay.
that, we will read the summary of from the diary of a young girl because maybe you will be asked to write the summary of a young girl. But this summary is quite long, so we will understand it better, Omar, so that you can easily write your own version for the summary. Okay, so will you please
Yeah.
read the first paragraph, Omar?
Okay. The first diary entry of the excerpt 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 is dated Monday evening, November 8, 1943. Anne writes about her moods or feelings. She writes that her diary tries express her many different moods. She doesn't like how strong her moods can be. However, she says that she isn't the only one in the annex who has the strong moods. Everyone does. She feels depressed or very sad. She's not sure what event made the feeling start, but she thinks it might be her lack of bravery earlier in the day. The doorbell rang for a long time. It made her feel very afraid.
What can you understand from what you read, Omar? Can you please tell me? What did you understand from what you read?
That she was writing her in her diary about her mood. She was very sad and depressed. She didn't know why, um, but she thinks it might be her lack of bravery. What does bravery mean?
Being not afraid.
Okay, and then the door bell was ringing a lot. She got so afraid.
Okay. So meaning to say, you can also begin by saying that this diary begins with actually Anne's expression of her mood, the variations of her mood. Okay, it's because of the situation where they are in, and this speaks also about what about the time when the doorbell in the attic actually rang for a long time, and this has caused Anne to be very afraid at the very moment in time. Okay, so please read the next lines, Omar. Read.
Okay,
You can read this
and
portion here.
often, okay, and often image scary things while in bed at night. She sees herself alone in an underground prison without her parents, or she sees people coming into the annex to take her family away. The things she imagines seem very real to Anne. She thinks that they may happen soon, and describes another thing she imagined in her mind. The people who are hiding in the annex are like a small piece of blue sky, and there are black clouds all around the blue sky. Um, Anne and the others are safe for now, but danger is coming. They look for a way out, but they just keep running into each other. There is now here for them to go. The next entry in the excerpt is dated Thursday, November 11, 1943. Man writes about her pin, um, which has died. The pin has been special to her and she likes the way it writes. Anne got the pen when she was 9. It was a gift from her grandmother in Germany. The pen came in a special case, and Anne was proud to have it, and described the pen as a special object in her life. For example, when she was 10, Anne's parents let her take the pen to school. The teacher let her use it in class instead of the school pens. When she was 13, Anne bought the pen to the annex. She used it to write many diaries and stories. Teacher, where is this annex thing?
Again, Omar, what did you say?
Where is this annex thing?
Annex is the room above the building where they are hiding.
Okay,
That word annex, meaning to say an extension of the building. So what is that extension of the building? This is the rooftop room, or we call it sometimes attic, where this family, okay, hide, okay, for 2.5 years. So can you please tell me what
okay.
did you understand, Omar, from these lines?
I understand it that she imagines that people, other people hiding, are are very afraid, like her, and it's in danger, and they're in danger at all the time. And she talks about her in Thursday, November 1943. She was talking about her pin. It was a special pin for her, and it dies out. Um, she got it from her grandmother in Germany. When her parents uh, when her parents let her to take it to school, and her teacher let her to use it instead of the school pen, and it was very special for her, and it
Okay.
likes and she likes the way the pen types writes.
Okay, very good. So that is this paragraph all about. So this paragraph speaks about the fear of Anne. Okay, that one day they will be what? They will be caught. That one day they will be taken from their hiding. It's because of the doorbell that was ringing continuously one day. At the same time, this chapter speaks about the pen or the fountain pen that Anne received from her grandmother. Okay, so this pen that she received from her grandmother was that when she was 9, and when she started to write using this one at the age of 10 when she was sent to school. And this is also the same pen that she used for writing her diary. Okay, so perfect, Omar. So we will go to the next shaded portion over here. Please read it, Omar.
Yes, table in the annex. Anne wants to sit at the table in the annex and write in her diary, but her father and sister are studying. One second. Her father and sister are studying at the table, and uh, Anne her chores. She cleans beans, sweeps, and puts trash into the stove to burn. It burns with a large flame. Finally, she is ready to sit and write, but she can't find her pen. Other people help her work, help her look. Nobody can find it. Anne's sister suggests that maybe the pin ended up in the stove with the trash. The family thinks it has burned. The next day, Anne's father inspects the stove. He finds part of the pin. He thinks the rest of it melted. Anne thinks her pin was cremated or burned to ashes when she dies. She too would like to be cremated. The next entry in the expert is dated Saturday, June 15, 1944. People in the annex have been fighting. Anne says she is not going to keep describing all of the fights. She mentions a fight about food and rights, that some food items have been divided up. She describes feeling very hungry by the end of each day. Anne's mother's birthday is coming. Okay.
Okay, Omar. So can you please tell me what did you understand?
Anne wanted to write her diary with her pen, but when Anne puts the trash away or burned it, she didn't find her pen. So her family searched for it, and her sister suggests or thinks that it burned. Um, and then her dad finds some parts of the pen, and Anne thinks that the rest of it burned.
Okay.
Um, and the next expert, um, Saturday, uh, January 15, 1944. Um, it will Anne's mother birthday is coming.
Okay, the last group of words, Omar.
Okay, she receives some sugar from their friends on the outside and describes people in the annex fighting about the gift. Anne wonders if most people are as selfish as Joseph. She writes that since she has been in the annex, she has learned a lot about the ways people act and think. She thinks learning this is good, um, but she's also tired of it, and writes that the war is going to continue, regardless of whether they fight in the annex. The war will keep going even though everyone is in the annex wants freedom. Therefore, Anne thinks they should try to live as happily as possible. In the last paragraph of the entry, Anne writes that all she really wants is to be a normal teenager.
Okay, tell me what did you understand from that portion, Omar?
Anne receives some sugar from her friends outside, and she describes about the people fighting in her diary, and also she describes that no one is more selfish than Dussel. Who is Dussel again?
Dussel is the dentist who arrived later
Okay.
in the annex.
She describes this since she was in the annex, and she says that the war is going to continue. Um, I think that's it.
Okay, very good. So, Omar, what if I will ask you to summarize the whole selection? Can you please do it for me? If I ask you
Okay.
to summarize from the diary of a young girl, okay, from the very beginning toward the end, can you do it?
Yes.
Okay, please tell me once you are done. You can write
Okay.
and then tell me once you are done. You can send it to WhatsApp. I will be waiting for your answer now.
Okay.